do what I do. And Marion has sustained her passion for this over many years. And as I say, she lectures all over the world in terms of drama in education and health service, and was advising our government on the use of drama in relation to mental health issues. But that feeling of empathetic resonance, you only can answer for yourselves how you felt physically in your body as you see what is actually being offered. And it could be that this doesn't touch you at all. Yet what Marion did, the researcher, was use this technology, the digital media, to communicate her meaning of a passion for compassion, which, as I'm speaking to you now, my body is actually feeling what Marion was communicating. So that is how we start to try to build up a response to what Tom is saying about validity. It's very important, it's very different to the traditional view of validity in a university, which is always focused on the words. You know, as a linguistic philosopher, I was taught, just focus on the meaning of the words. It had nothing to do with what I was actually experiencing or feeling passionately in my practice. It was just, could I use words correctly? You know, there was one punishment. Right, after about 3 weeks, the conclusion was, punishment is the intentional infliction of pain by somebody in authority on somebody who's broken a rule. Now, I can say that very quickly, all right? But it actually means almost nothing in relation to your experience and feeling of being punished. So, I'd just like to pause there, because I don't think anybody, well, from what we were saying, you've made available your account in Norway. I doubt if any of you have had videos of yourselves, for example on YouTube, that you have integrated within an explanation of your influence. Can I just check that? Have any of you got on YouTube now, or any other streaming service, so we can click as we can click on this? And please remember that these are coming, you know, directly from the internet. You can access these tonight as soon as you or leave the room, get into actionresearch.net. Go into That's What's New, and you'll be able to access these just by a click from YouTube. Now, until I'm saying, and this is a claim, again, you can test the validity, that unless we start to see you from your practice, showing what it is you're passionately engaged with in terms of your values, your influence will not spread as widely as I believe it should be being spread. Because imagine in this room now, if we could make available in the public domain, spreading around the world, the values that you're living every day, for me the world becomes a better place to be. Do I make sense here? This is a very practical issue about how to improve the world, and it is to share the values that you're passionate about and really believe in with your students, and to share it as widely as possible. So somebody in different, and we can start with the European context. It was some 800 million people, 47 countries, 19 here, right? Now, if we were to start with that, that would be hugely significant. So could I again just pause there? Have I answered the questions so far that were asked? You know, there's that very one about that international community. How do you actually retain that integrity with those master's students? They're asking those questions. The question, you know, about, right, how do we conduct this research with the teachers so we're not imposing our frameworks onto others? We're actually allowing these to emerge. We can work with, as Tryggva was doing with the musicians, and as I'm doing today with you, I hope, share my understandings, but it is definitely not imposed upon you. I can't get to where I want to be unless you exercise your creativity and come forward with your accounts and explanations of your influence with your students in the context you live and work. So let me pause again and just see if there's anything else that is emerging that you feel, no, I'd just like Jack just to, you know, consider this and work with it, so that I've got, you know, as much as I can from this session, because we've got some minutes left. Is there anything else that, you know, I can either show you or you can actually say about your own work that you can bring into the space? Yeah?
Jack, I'm really struck by serendipity in this. The fact that the camera is in a particular position, and it may be deliberate, it could be accidental, but what's really interesting is that that then creates possibilities that you can't predict.
Yeah.
And there's something about what you're describing that I think is really opens up the creative potential of research. That and the message you're giving, I think, is very powerful in that regard. That perhaps our methods that we've adopted over the years have inhibited rather than enabled us to see. And we've tried to rationalise it so much that we've failed to see some of the bigger picture. So the very fact that we're using a different type of data capture to one that we traditionally operate seems to me to be wonderfully illuminatory about the way our creative responses to each other enables us to see it and gain insight that perhaps our traditional methods wouldn't have done. And there's one little bit to that, or to add, and that is the choices we then make about the data we have. So you've got the selection of particular bits of imagery. It's one of the things I've been doing is making films for a newspaper, and they go onto a website. And after 6 hours of filming, we realised we had about 3 minutes of data material. And it was really interesting doing that, because I would have chosen 10 minutes, but the person who was selecting it for the website finessed and finessed and finessed. So the question I'm getting to is, how much of that collaborative process is central to what we do?
Yeah. I love what you said there about the creativity, because there's no way I could literally predict what you were questioning me, or Tom, what you were going to ask, or that point there, which is really important about the integrity. Yeah? So there's a guy called Richard Winter in the UK who's done a lot of work on rigour in action research, and he's got a lovely phrase, and he talks about it as improvisatory self-realisation. So the improvisatory, it's rather like the jazz musician who starts to create. He's got great skill, but he creates something which is new. Now, I think that everybody here has got that kind of creativity. And no amount of my planning, I couldn't have written down, oh, I could, and I could have talked to a speech I had pre-prepared. And I was at Patras giving a talk, and I was quite surprised that the Greek researchers, they were amazingly fast in the way they talked. You know, it's like machine guns, but they would talk at the audience for an hour. Yeah? Now, I could do that, you know, and it would predict what I was offering, you know, because I'd just read what I'd prepared. But what fascinates me here is that there will be a videotape, in fact there will be two, of what we've been doing. Now, just think at the moment, there isn't one account from anybody in this room which is literally global. There is one which is restricted to the Norwegian context because of the language. Now, because of what I've been saying and advocating, so you've had me in front of you saying, look, my purpose of being here is to really see, can I captivate your imaginations? So for example, Christina, when you said about what kind of society do we want? If in 2 years' time there is an account, as you've been working through those values, then I will be able to say from this meeting, and it's on video, I've been trying to advocate this, and if we're in a conversation over those 2 years where we're influencing each other's work, I'll be able to show you in a couple of years' time the influence that we're both having in each other's learning, but I'm hoping that one of Christina's accounts will be global. Do you see? So it's going the other way. Here's the portal. There's the portal. So it's coming this way at the moment. There isn't one account, apart from I think Carrie, if she makes available her doctorate, that would then count, that is going the other way. So that you are flowing into the global communications literally around the world. And I think that point of Paul's about, when you say about the serendipity, you know, there's no way I could have predicted who am I going to meet here. You know, and just last night I was walking back, you know, it was lovely that, you know, it's just chance, isn't it? You meet, and then there is a connection, and you feel, okay, can this conversation develop? Tom last night, I was very impressed with his energy and his values, yeah? Now, when it comes to his research, because it's all about rhetoric, I would love to see Tom showing some of his educational influences with the energy and values that you express in practice using this multimedia work with Tryggva. Do you see, because your talent to create that with the musician and the guitar, now you think if the guitar is a real human being that you're trying to help form, I think you'll have such an amazing contribution to make in terms of the global understanding of education. And that goes for everybody here, if you'll actually make that possible. So that is vital, Paul, that, you know, the serendipity and what you choose. And what I will be choosing from here, which I wouldn't know until I'm actually thinking like this now, is your accounts of your work with your students and children, and especially your values, your energy and the passion with which you bring into education the values, and I would say, I use a phrase, the values that carry hope for the future of humanity. So I think as educators, this is what we hope. And when you were talking about the citizens and the connections internationally, I think that this is something we could all work with. So can I just ask, is there anything else that you feel, well, you know, I'd just like to raise, yes? Yeah.
We've used some videotaping of teachers in our school, but we tend to use it privately, because after the video we go to a group of 2 or 3 persons just to look through the video and see what have we done. And we can see some amazing moments which we really should have put out to show other people. But we are so afraid. And in Norway we shouldn't show our good side. Yeah. So we tend to do private. So I think this gives us a bit courage to go further. And another thing is, we have a great discussion of special education, and we can see that some teachers don't need to take the pupils out of the classroom, and some teachers want to have the pupils out of the classroom, the groups. And I think what makes some teachers so good, and I think it's about language, about passion, and how do you create this moment in the classroom that get some light in the eyes of those special pupils.
Okay, so now we have the same issues with our teachers. The ones that want to take the children out of the school, and we've got a head teacher at the moment who is researching that. But I want to just focus on something. When you talk about the light in the eyes, now, in a book written by this man called Fukuyama, it's called something like The Last Man, the End of History. Yeah? And he was all about recognition of the other. And he was using some of the work of Hegel to say, this is one of the most important qualities in human existence. And he goes back to the Greeks. The Greek have got a notion of what they call phainos. Now, as I look round the room, I've been seeing nods, okay, and I've been seeing faces light up with some pleasure. This isn't often my experience, by the way. Yes, usually blank faces, but today it is actually, there's been pleasure. Yeah? Now, I hope I've connected, you know, just looking around the room, and just when you said about making it available in Norway, you know, that I'm feeling that recognition as an educator. And in one way, it doesn't matter which country you come from. At the moment, for me, we are simply human beings together. And that recognition seems to cross cultural boundaries. So I think if you were to research that, the quality of the relation between the teacher and the student, and Tom, I was talking to him last night about it, and saying that he had this ability to express that energy with that gaze of recognition, the value. And it wasn't dangerous, it wasn't damaging. It was almost as if his presence, right, which is quite a big guy, you know, it could be dominating. But it's almost as if it stops here. His energy engaged with my boundary, but it wasn't imposition. It was invitation. And it was invitation to inquire. Just as we were talking last night as we came back. If you were to research that, I think you would make a really important contribution. Because it's all focused on the relationship between the educator and the student.